Hello and welcome back, guys, to our Valleyridge farming channel here. We are doing several things today, one of which I've already started, and that's cleaning out the barn. As you can see, manure pack here is very high. It's right up to the boards here, and I've already started digging out on this side here. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up here. The reason we got this empty is because we ended up moving those sheep out to pasture. So that kind of freed up a whole bunch of space in the barn here. Next week we're going to be bringing in the other group that we had on pasture that are getting bred and moving them back into the barn so that we can get those sheared. So we want to get this done before we put animals back in here. We're probably going to keep these here ewe lambs. There's I think 61 in this group that I'm retaining for my own purposes, and these ones here will probably just stay in the barn until they lamb next spring. But the other thing we're hoping to do today as well is harvest our soybeans. I know a lot of you watch this channel partly for all the sheep content that's on here, but harvesting is usually a pretty interesting process as well, and we just want to show you a little bit of how that's going to go. If you look at this field from here, you might say nice field, but maybe not so nice because I don't really see any soybeans. Now this is a particularly bad spot in the field. When you get in here, you'd be surprised actually at how much there is still in here. There are spots where the weeds are very thick, but there are also spots where there's hardly any weeds. So this is kind of what we're looking at when we get out into the field. And as you can see, each of these has pods, and in these pods, as it goes through the combine, it exposes and these things come flying out, and it's a pretty amazing process if you think of what it looks like on the field. And in a matter of about 20 seconds, it ends up going through the combine harvester and ends up in the hopper at top, all just as grain like this. We're grateful that we've had some nice weather finally. The thing about soybeans is you don't want to harvest them too moist. So a dry moisture would be 13.5% moisture. That would be the ideal moisture to have them at when you put them into storage. And right yesterday afternoon they were at about 15%, so plenty moist. And so we waited till today. Hopefully we'll get a bit of a better drying day. You can go from lunchtime to 7 o'clock in the evening. You can probably drop a couple points in moisture if you got the right weather. Enough sunshine, enough of a breeze. And the breeze is finally picking up. It's been wet all morning. Hopefully we're going to get these dried down a little bit more and get them put away in the bin. A bit of the problem with organic farming, because there are so many weeds in there, is when we harvest, we're also going to pick up a lot of these, and they're going to go through the combine as well. And if you notice, you go like this, see all these wee little seeds? There's going to be also a lot of them which end up like that, mixed in with all the grain. So we're going to put them through a grain cleaner, which will actually filter out all those small weed seeds and keep all the actual soybean seeds. So we'll show you a bit about that process as well. Sorry for all the chatting, but just to explain a little bit of what's going on as we go through this process of harvesting. It's always a bit of quite an exciting time. You know, you planted it, you've taken care of it throughout the growing season, you've prayed for rain at the right times and sunshine for the right times, and hopefully you get a good harvest. That's always the end goal. And thankfully we're at the point where it looks like we're gonna have a pretty good crop, and so now we can actually finally get it in the bin and get it ready to sell. So first of all, let's get back to cleaning out the barn, and later this afternoon I'll take you out to the field and show you some harvesting. All right, so we've got the wagons hooked up to the tractor here by the field, and never seen in one of these before when they're empty. It's basically just a big bin that's all sloped so that you shouldn't have to climb in here in order for the grain to flow out. So that's all there is to that. But now we're going to go to this grain bin over here where we're hoping to store these soybeans. Take a look inside and make sure everything's okay. Make sure there's no bees hanging out somewhere in there. Looks pretty clean for the most part. I think I could bring a broom in here and just shovel out a little bit of stuff. So the way these bins work is there's a raised floor on the bottom here with all holes in it. I don't know if you can see that. And the floor is basically level with that here. And there's a fan right here, which when it's blowing air, it forces air underneath that floor and up through all those holes in the floor, and aerates the grain that's in the bin. And then it's got vents on the top, of course, to vent it out. So that's how you kind of keep your grain fresh. If we put soybeans in there at about 15%, we have some really nice dry days. When we blow air through it all day, we can actually do a little bit of air drying with it, but ideally we want to just get it off the field in a dry state rather than trying to fool around with it in the bin, because you're running a bit of a risk trying to dry it in the bin, simply because if you don't get those really nice dry days and you get a lot of wet days or cold days, you won't be able to get it dry, and then you could run into problems in the bin. So we do the best we can to get it off the field dry, working with all the factors of you know, what their schedule, the guys who are harvesting for me, what their schedule's like and what mine's like. I would love to try to get wheat into this field yet this fall, winter wheat. So we're gonna see how this all works out, because it's just so wet still. The ground's very wet, and it's hard to seed into ground that's very wet, especially in this clay soil. It just tends to make a mess. So we're gonna see how this works and go from there. So I'm gonna go get the auger, which we'll use to fill this bin up, and show you what that looks like. All right guys, so we did get started harvesting here, but as we went through the field, we just determined that we're gonna put a hold on it. We probably got like, I don't know, 2 or 3 ton off the field, but just as we were going through, we just couldn't get the settings right to get all the green stuff out. Between the weeds, stems, and the weed heads, we just can't get them to clean out, and they also won't clean out with our cleaner there that I'm going to show you in a minute. So we determined we're going to stop. There's also a bunch of beans that aren't quite mature yet, so we're going to hold off. We still have 4 weeks before the cutoff for planting winter wheat, so we're going to give it another week or 2 and try again later. Hopefully we'll get some nice weather still. Anyways, in the meantime, I'll show you still how we go about trying to clean it. It's going to be noisy, so I probably won't do much talking. That's what it looks like. So in reality, we're just trickling it through. This auger, of course, could unload it a whole lot faster, but we just want to give the beans time to run through that screen cleaner there in order to get as much of the weed seeds out as we can. So we're just letting it go really slowly and trying to do as good a job as we can. So I just turned it all off because the wagon's empty, but I just thought I'd show you a little closer now that it's not running how it works. So as the grain flows into this hopper here, this auger carries it into here where it drops it on the screen. And as soon as it lands on the screen, all the small seeds of course fall through. And as this thing spins, it dumps that seed onto there's like a rail under there. It's hard to see, perhaps. And that rail, the seed can fall off it, so it just keeps on dropping it onto that rail as it comes further and further up this thing. And eventually it puts it through and drops it into there. But the whole reason for it taking its time to get there was so that every time it doesn't land on that rail, it falls onto the screen and more seeds fall through the screen, and then the seed is basically clean by the time it comes out the other end. So that's kind of the gist of how it works. It's a little hard to explain, but that's kind of what happens, and it's usually fairly effective. So it's Saturday here. We just moved this group into this section on Wednesday, and as you can see, that's pretty much all eaten down. So we're just going to let them into this one here. We just got a couple more fences to set up first, and then we'll let them in there. As you can see, we've had no issues with bloat. Everybody's healthy and well, so we're very thankful for that. So we're just going to take this fence now and go set some up. All right, so we got that all set up. So we're just gonna let them in here. You guys hungry? Doubled back, I know that. She grown in here. Got a machete in your back pocket? Okay, I think we're in the clear. So if you want to sit on the tailgate and hold that.
Yeah, right.
And then I'll drive. That's it. If it gets too hard, then yelp for help.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Take it easy.
Keep going. Think you're good. You're good. Yeah, no, of course you don't feel anything. Okay, go. These mosquitoes are eating me alive.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
I just don't want it to kink as it comes out of the bushes the whole way. We might have to dig it out the whole way. Anyways, guys, that's it for this week. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.